Hello everyone, I'm Sonic98, bringing you the latest on video games, TV news, and more. So today is a very special day. Today, we are only one day away from the release of episodes 1 and 2 of The Walking Dead: A New Frontier, aka The Walking Dead Season 3, and wow, I did not think this day would ever come. So to prepare for it, we've got a bunch of information. I know I haven't talked about A New Frontier since I think July or something like that, but I am super stoked for this. I cannot wait for it to come out. Now, here's what first things like. I'm going to be covering a lot of stuff in this video. This is basically kind of like everything you need to know about The Walking Dead: A New Frontier before it comes out tomorrow. So basically, we're gonna go over the extended sneak peek that we saw at the 2016 VGAs. We're gonna go over the launch trailer Telltale released a couple weeks ago, and then we're gonna look at a bunch of new screenshots and concept art that were released by Telltale and posted on their forums. So first off, we're gonna go ahead and talk about the extended first look that we got at the 2016 VGA. So before I start it, I'm gonna go ahead and play it again for y'all right now in case none of you have seen it yet.
David! It's David, hey! Hey, David, man. I had to leave my car. Traffic's it's backed up for miles. He's dead. No! Mama.
Where were you?
I tried. I'm so sorry.
He's gone, mijo. He's gone.
Mama. Uncle Hector's taking care of it.
What are the plans for the funeral?
David made arrangements with your father before he passed.
You thirsty, baby? You want some juice?
Grandpa's cup was empty.
You don't have to fill his cup up anymore, baby. Grandpa is sleeping.
No, Yaya. People's awake.
Rafa, ¿cómo es esto posible?
Papá, cálmate. Soy yo, David. Estás en tu casa, cálmate.
¿Qué estás haciendo?
Él está loco. Él atacó a Héctor.
Solamente está confundido.
Mamá.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh, it's okay. It's okay.
Mama, you're gonna be okay. You'll be okay, Mom.
Help him!
David! I did whatever I had to do to protect him.
Sometimes it's not enough. Some people looked out for me too.
What happened to them?
Same thing that happens to everyone.
So here's where we're going to start with the analysis of the extended sneak peek. So the sneak peek starts off apparently at day 1 of the Zombie Apocalypse, or somewhere around that. So this is around the same time Lee's on his way to jail in the beginning of episode 1 of season 1. The same time Vince is on the prison bus to wherever he is in the beginning of 400 Days, etc. This is right at the beginning. Apparently Javier is here is living with his family. We see him running up to his brother, who I assume is his brother David. Now before I get into this analysis, I also want to take I'm going to be explaining all the stuff we know about Javier's family, so we're going to keep going. And so we see Javier he's physically exhausted. He runs up to David. He's saying how there was a lot of traffic, and apparently, for some reason, Javier had to get back to his house because David needed him there. And then David just says he's dead. So Javier doesn't understand. But then you see who we later learn is Javier's mom, hugging Hector, who we also learn is another man in Hector, and so that's basically saying how Javier's dad died, and because he's old, and so then we get another shot of Javier walking in to his mom. Also, we know by name that Javier's last name is Javier Garcia. We see Javier's mom, who we don't know her name, we just know her name is Mrs. Garcia, and then we have Beanie Hat Guy right here, actually. He's now wearing the same red beanie hat he was in that first junkyard screenshot. He's wearing a white beanie hat, but still a beanie hat nonetheless. Javier goes to talk to his mom, who instantly slaps him when he gets in, and she's mad at him because he wasn't able to get to the house for his dad to die, so she's upset about that. We see David's kind of emotionally distraught. We also see here Beanie Hat Guy again on the big chair right to the right of them. So and you can clearly see it does look like Beanie Hat Guy from the trailers. So from what I'll get more later into this. So we then get a shot of this girl walking down this hallway with a cup in her hand. Now, if you remember from the screenshots shown at San Diego Comic-Con, this was the girl that was with Javier and Beanie Hat Guy in the Junkyard screenshot. So after that, we hear as the Telltale Games logo pops up, a bunch of people talking about plans for a funeral and such, and we get this little line right here between Hector and the girl.
Thirsty, baby? You want some juice?
So what this line is basically implying is that, the fact that he calls her baby, it means that the girl is Hector's daughter. So this means that, and what we assume is, we actually learned, that, thanks to the Walking Dead wiki, that this girl's name is actually Kate Garcia. So she is Hector's daughter, and Beanie Hat Guy is also his son. So Kate and Beanie Hat Guy are Hector's children, and since Hector is actually Javier's brother, that makes Kate and Beanie Hat Guy Javier's niece and nephew. So Hector thinks that Kate's getting the cup for herself, but she says that it's for her grandpa, or Javier, Hector, and David's father, and she says that because it's for her grandpa, but then her Mrs. Garcia says that she doesn't have to, but then because she's dead, but she's like, no, he's awake, and so obviously this means that Javier's dad is a walker, but they don't know what walkers are or anything. So we see this shot of Javier cautiously looking down the hallways. We see Kate open the door back to their father's room, and then we cut to this shot of we see Kate turn on the lights, and we see the shadow of their father in the background. Then we get this other shot. We see in the shot where Hector is seen pushing Kate out of the room. We see behind him Javier, David, and this new girl who we've learned her name is Eleanor. Now, if you remember the cover of The Walking Dead: New Frontier, which features Javier, Clementine, Beanie Hat Guy, and that unknown girl, this is who she is. Her name is apparently Eleanor Garcia, and she is Hector's wife, and Kate and Beanie Hat Guy's mother. So she's there with Javier, David, and Kate, as well. Hector goes to check on his father, who we hear him call names Rafa, which could be short for Raphael, so we know their father's name is Raphael, or Rafa at least. From my middle school and high school years of Spanish, we basically, he's saying to, basically, how is this possible that he's alive? Then we get, his father's reanimate as a walker. He tries to kill him. We see, Javier and David pull him off, and then Mrs. Garcia comes in and is like asking what's going on. And David says in Spanish that Rafa is crazy. He tried to kill Hector, and then we just get her cut to black. We see Mrs. Garcia sit back in a chair. She has a big chunk of her cheek torn out, implying that Rafa bit her, so she's going to die. Or, well, she won't die, but she will eventually get sick and then die. Then we get this quick shot of, we see Eleanor running, presumably to help out Mrs. Garcia, and then we see David struggling to hold back his father, who tries to kill him. And then before this, we see Javier. Before Javier grabs the bed leg to kill his father, we see Beanie Hat Kid covering his ears. So that looks a lot like the shot. So then the screenshot. So we see Javier kill his father with the bed table. And then we hear Javier saying, I did what had to be done, whatever, to protect my family. And then we get the shot everyone's freaking out about. We see the shot of Clementine kicking the walker in the knee, just like Jane taught her all the way back in season 2. And then we see Clementine stab it in the head with this knife. And now there's one interesting note here. While Javier is wearing his outfit from the E3 2015 trailer, one thing to note actually is that Javier has hand ties. He's actually being handcuffed by Clementine. So why does Clementine have Javier handcuffed? Does she not trust Javier? Is this perhaps maybe if you decided to go with Jane or the alone ending, or you told Clementine to stay away from people, stay away from large groups? Maybe Clementine doesn't trust Javier and handcuffs him. Maybe this is something regardless of what happens. Maybe like if you decide to go with Kenny or go to Wellington, maybe Clementine would be more trusting of Javier and not handcuff him. But we'll have to wait and see. So we see Clementine kill the walker, and we just get this little pan up of Clementine holding the same shotgun that Javier was in the E3 2015 trailer. And we see, unlike the all the other screenshots we've seen of Clementine, where she wears the white lawn sleeve with the red flannel around it, we see Clementine now wearing this purple winter coat, which kind of looks like Carly's a bit from season 1 of The Walking Dead, and she's got this red scarf on her. Of course, she's also got her hat with Lee's blood on it still, and that's all pretty much we can tell from this shot. So now that's over and done, we're going to go ahead and go over the launch trailer that was released a couple weeks ago, which I find a lot more interesting. But for those who haven't seen it yet, I'm going to go ahead and play that for all of you.
One time that you needed to be here. Please, I tried. Oh, you tried. I know you got beef.
You told me where to hide.
Hurry, please come with us.
Take it easy.
What happened?
They call themselves the New Frontier. They used to be decent people. Now they're something else.
Go, go, go! Get her to Richmond!
Next time, I'm not gonna sit back and watch. I'm gonna do something.
Sorry, forgot to introduce myself. Call me Jesus.
I should have told you this earlier.
Why didn't you, after all we've gone through?
Keep going. You'll open up.
Go, man! I did whatever I had to do to protect them.
Sometimes it's not enough.
Now, this trailer starts off with a shot of this junkyard-looking area. It's kind of a dump. If I'm looking at the sign on the left, it says CNC Auto Shop, and we also see another CNC Auto Shop sign right there in the middle of the screen. We then cut eventually to this shot of a broken down car with a bunch of dead walker bodies next to it, implying that something happened there. We see the jab graffiti from the E3 2015 trailer on this red barrel on the left. So that jab thing that we saw in the E3 2015 trailer, that means nothing. So over this, we see this shot of Javier waking up. He's certainly got a lot more stubble, kind of a beard growing on than he did in the E3 2015 trailer and the extended look trailer. So, and this is the same outlook Javier has on the cover of the game. So that's interesting. So I'm assuming because of this, either Javier hasn't had time to shave, or maybe he's being held captive by something. That would seem to be the reason, seen as how he seems to be waking up from unconsciousness in the middle of nowhere. During this, we hear David talking to Javier about like how he couldn't be there for his father when he died. We get kind of more of a look at the scene from the extended sneak peek in which we see Javier and David arguing, and David goes to punch Javier. Now we get this shot. This is pretty interesting. While it doesn't look like it takes place early on in the apocalypse, the faded background implies that this is a flashback. And so what it looks like, we have this guy holding up Javier in what looks like some sort of junkyard, very similar to the junkyard in that very first screenshot back at San Diego Comic-Con. So he's saying to Javier that he's apparently got people with him and to tell him where they are. We see, we hear, who I assume to be Eleanor telling him that, like, you gotta tell us where to hide and we gotta do something. And we see the shot then of Javier opening a trapdoor to reveal Beanie Hat Guy, Eleanor, and what I assume to be is Kate behind them. hiding under, I guess, the shed or wherever there are. Maybe this is a choice, like, do you give them up to the guy, or do you offer to, like, get yourself hurt more in an attempt to save them? I'm not quite sure. We see this shot of a bunch of, a huge herd of walkers running through this place. The faded background means it's implied to be a flashback, so I'm assuming maybe there's some sort of huge walker storm that comes and screws things up. I don't know. And then we get this shot, cut back to Javier waking up and everything, and we see Clementine walk out to meet him. Now, what's interesting about this is that when Clementine, right before it cuts back to show Clementine and Javier, we see it look at Clementine's finger cut off, which we've seen plenty of times throughout since the E3 2015 trailer. But one thing to note here is that unlike the other shots, in this shot, Clementine's finger is not bandaged. We actually see like the red skin around it, which implies that maybe her finger was just recently cut off, and so maybe this is, and we also see on Javier's right eyebrow that there's some stitching on it, so like it was cut. So to me it looks like as if Javier and Clementine were captured by this new group, and apparently they beat Javier up, they cut off Clementine's finger, and now they're stuck in this junkyard, kind of like the little cafeteria Home Depot area in with Carver's group. So we see here, Javier asks what happens. We see Clementine crouch down next to him. But what's interesting though is that if you look closely on Clementine's right hand, you see she has her camoed pistol from the 2015 trailer. So this would imply they're not prisoners. Maybe they like escape. Maybe they were making an escape or something, and Clementine actually got Javier out, and they had to rest in this junkyard. Also, this is something I failed to point out in my screenshot analysis all the way back in like July. But if you look closely on Clementine's left hand arm, she actually has the scar from Sam the dog. Now, if you don't remember, in episode 1 of The Walking Dead Season 2, Clementine met this dog named Sam, who, after you find a can of beans, you have the option to either feed him or not. If you feed him, he takes too much and causes Clementine to take them away from him, and in anger, he bites Clementine's arm, which leaves a really bad scar and leads Luke and everyone to believe that she was bitten by a walker. So apparently that's quite a scar, as we still see it on her left arm here. So that's really interesting. Now, anyways, we hear Javier asking Clementine what happened, and we get this shot of this huge wall, kind of very similar to Wellington's wall, actually. And this was actually from also part of a concept art found in the game, in which someone posted on Telltale forums a concept art for this like gated community, in which it had a very similar gate to this. However, the highway sign on the front, it instead said Schulenburg instead of Prescott, which it looks like now. So anyways, we see two guards on the top, and we see this truck come in, we hear Clementine narrator and saying they call themselves the New Frontier. So now we have a name. We know that this 76 gang that we thought was all the way back in the E3 2015 trailer, we know the name of their group is called the New Frontier. So, of course, and you even have the name of the season, The Walking Dead, A New Frontier. So apparently, unlike Carver's group, which is really only a main threat for episodes 2 and 3 of Season 2, the New Frontier is going to be a persistent threat throughout this entire season. So I'm really looking forward to that. Anyways, back to the trailer, we see this shot of Javier walking through what I assume is the gate of the New Frontier. We actually see, if you look closely at the guy with the beanie hat right there with the assault rifle, that's actually, I think, is the same guy who was holding up Javier earlier in the trailer during that flashback. So could that guy have been a member of the New Frontier? Who knows? Anyway, we see Javier walking through this place. We get a zoom in on this one guy's neck, which has the 76 logo of the New Frontier. And this is actually one thing to point out as well, is that nowhere in this trailer does Javier have the 76 mark, or the New Frontier mark, on his neck, like he did in the E3 2015 trailer. So what does this mean? Did Telltale just decide to do that for little tease? Will Javier get the New Frontier mark on his neck at some point during the game? Who knows? Anyway, we hear Clementine talking about the New Frontier, saying that they used to be good people, but now they're not. So why would Clementine know this? So this implies that Clementine was actually maybe perhaps a former member of the New Frontier, maybe after the fall of Wellington, or after Kenny or Jane died or went alone. She ran into this group called the New Frontier. They were nice people. She decided to go with them, and then she realized how they slowly turned into assholes, and she decided to run away and successfully escape. So anyways, we then get this shot of this big truck armored truck come bashing through the gate. This is the same truck that was seen rolling up in the last shot of, and we also see in this truck are a bunch of walkers. Now, if you remember from the Walking Dead TV show, in the first half of season 6, there was this group called the Wolves who used a similar tactic in which they ended up driving a truck full of walkers through Alexandria. Well, no, actually, that was they drove a truck to attract walkers, but they had trucks full of walkers in a like a mailroom as a trap for any survivors that ran through their base. So we see that whoever's driving this truck bashed through the gates of what I assume is the New Frontier, and they released all these walkers. We see Javier almost get run over by this. So could it be possible maybe this is not the New Frontier, but the New Frontier is attacking, and Javier's perhaps living with this other group? Who knows? But anyway, we also see this shot. Javier has still has the eyebrow cut that from when he woke up in the junkyard, and we see what looks like Javier is throwing Eleanor into this armored car. And now what he says here is really important, so I'm just gonna let you hear this clip right now.
Get her to Richmond!
He said, "Get her to Richmond," as in Richmond, Virginia. Now, Telltale did confirm that Walking Dead: A New Frontier will take place primarily in the Virginia area, and Richmond, Virginia is actually really close to where Alexandria is in the comics and TV shows. So perhaps is Javier sending Eleanor to live in Alexandria, or perhaps maybe the Kingdom, Hilltop, or even Sanctuary? Who knows? But one thing's for sure, it's going to be really interesting. Next thing, we get a look at another shot of this beanie hat guy. We see him holding what looks like a hatchet or something. He's most likely killing a walker. And we hear beanie hat guy saying how he wants to help and, like, do things. Now, this gives off I'm really worried now, because this kind of makes me feel like beanie hat guy is giving off a Ben Sarah vibe. Now, and I'm just going to say right now, I absolutely hated Sarah in The Walking Dead Season 2. I mean, I tolerated her in episodes 1 and 2, but after what she did in episode 3, I hated her entirely, and I had no regrets leaving her to die in episode 4. So anyway, we see being that guy being a whiny Carl-like character, nice, that he wants to help. Like, we see this shot right here of this guy with the stubble holding up Javier, and then we see Beanie Hat guy holding this pistol, apparently threatening the guy who's threatening Javier. We don't know when exactly this could be. Now, if you notice, this is the same road that Clementine and Javier were on at the end of the extended look. So is perhaps maybe Clementine with this guy, and they're holding up Javier, and then Beanie Hat guy comes like, "Hey, what are you doing, my brother or my uncle?" And they're like, "No, Javier, no, Beanie Hat guy, this isn't what it looks like." And so anyway, he's probably gonna be an idiot. I'm kind of disappointed by that. Now, this is really important. We actually get a look at Javier and a bunch of other people running through the sewers, killing walkers. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and list them one by one. So from left to right, we actually have Javier, Clementine, Beanie Hat guy, what looks like some black guy on the right side of the screen. You can only see in the shot his arm. You can only see like a little bit of him. He's got this yellow flannel shirt, and you sort of see him right here. He's got like this yellow flannel shirt. He kind of looks like Mike from season 2, but I wouldn't get my hopes up. One thing to note though is that there's two important shots. So to the right of Javier, we see this really, really big guy, who to me looks a lot like Geralt from The Witcher 3. We see him a lot throughout this trailer, so it's no doubt that he'll be an important character to the game. And really surprisingly, which I am very, very happy to talk about, to the left of Beanie Hat guy and Clementine is none other than Jesus. Now, for those who don't know, Jesus is one of the main characters of the Walking Dead comics and TV show, in that he is a scout for the Hilltop Colony, which is where Maggie eventually takes over in the comics. So, well, we get a proper introduction to Jesus in the later, like about 5 seconds later. This is really cool, as we finally get to see our first look at a comic book character that will be appearing in this. So I'm gonna go ahead and just walk through this later. Now we get our proper first look at Jesus. We see Beanie Hat guy and Javier, presumably Clementine too, being attacked by a bunch of walkers, and then we see Jesus, who is a really, really good hand-to-hand fighter. absolutely wreck these walkers and basically being the cocky asshole he is. We see this shot right here of Javier looking up at Jesus, and if you look really quickly, I think you can see Clementine or Walking Dead Geralt behind him. So apparently they're not with Jesus from the start, which would make sense because Jesus belongs to Hilltop. He's not in Sanctuary or the New Frontier or whatever. Now, we get a look here at a really good look at Jesus. They look to be like under there's some sort of bridge. Now, one thing to note importantly here is that the way Jesus looks. Now, I know it may not seem important, but it kind of is in when placing when this game takes place. Now, Telltale confirmed that The Walking Dead New Frontier takes place approximately 3.5 to 4 years after the events of Season 2, which would place it around the same time as the Whispers into Screams arc of the Walking Dead comics. Now, but what's interesting about that is that if it did take place during Whispers into Screams, Jesus would look a lot different. So I'm going to go ahead and you have Jesus right here. I'm going to go ahead and like post a picture of like a cover from the comics and show you what Jesus looks like now. So you can see the difference in Jesus' appearance. So this is more of his appearance pre All Out War. So what I'm assuming is maybe this game takes place in between the events of A New Beginning and All Out War, because we see that Jesus still has his beanie hat, long-haired look. Well, he wears a trench coat instead of the padded armor, like padded kingdom-like armor. So apparently, if we get branched during the comics, this definitely takes place in between the events of All Out War and A New Beginning. Negan will still be in jail. Rick's still the leader of the Hilltop. Unfortunately, this means that Michonne is still out on her quest to defeat Norma, so it doesn't look like Michonne will be showing up in this game at all. At most, we'll be seeing, this means we could be seeing either Rick, we could be seeing Andrea, we could be seeing Carl, we could be seeing Negan, we could be seeing Maggie, we could be seeing Aaron. We could see Ezekiel, because, spoiler alert, even though Ezekiel does die at the, halfway through the Whispers into Screams arc, Ezekiel is alive for some of it, so we could be possibly seeing Ezekiel in this as well. So that just leaves a bunch of possibilities open for that. Now, what's really interesting here is we kind of get like a one-on-one talk between Clementine and Javier, presumably. We see the shot of Clementine walking through the sewers saying that, "I should have told you about this." Now, immediately after that, we get this blurred looking background of the, what do you call it, like a flashback, and we see, for the first time since the July screenshots from San Diego Comic-Con, baby AJ, we see him with Clementine. They're together. We see AJ tucked away in this little backpack or something Clementine has, and looks like they're running away from walkers. The fact that they're in this forest implies that this could possibly be during the Alone ending, or perhaps maybe it's also during the one of the Jane endings, because House was located near a forest. Maybe like they're escaping House or something. Now one thing to note here is this: Clementine. We see Clementine has her arms out as if she's holding on to something. To me, perhaps maybe she's on a bicycle or motorcycle. Maybe she's climbing a ladder or something. But to me, it looks like Clementine is some sort of vehicle she's driving. I highly doubt a motorcycle. I'm pretty sure she learned how to ride a bicycle. So it could be very possible she's riding a bicycle away from the walkers. Now, another thing really interesting after that is we see Clementine here sitting at what looks like a picnic table of some sorts with the letters AJ on her hand. Now, we don't know if she just drew them on her hand with a marker, if she engraved it with like a knife or something, or maybe it was branded onto her arm like Booker in Bioshock Infinite. So, anyways, we see Clementine touching the AJ mark on her hand before we get to this another shot of Clementine looking like kind of like unsure of herself as she aims her pistol at an unknown person. The faded background means that this is still a flashback, but and if you actually look closely, if you brighten this, you can, I think, see AJ behind him. So to me, this interior area, it doesn't look like Wellington or anything to me. I think this perhaps is one of the Jane endings, in which perhaps maybe if it's the one in which you let the family in, they decide to go ahead and kill Jane and Clementine to try and take over. And so perhaps maybe after maybe they kill Jane and Clementine's like struggling to be able to kill them, but she eventually does. Now, another thing here, she's not wearing her white lawn sleeve that she was in the previous shot of her running away with AJ and in the shot of him at the junkyard. This is a completely different look. So, is this the jacket that she was wearing in the extended sneak peek? Who knows? Also, during this whole thing, we hear Javier saying, "Oh, why didn't you tell me this after everything we've gone through?" This could be like a little editing trick to hide a really big reveal Clementine has, but to me it seems more like an idea basically that Clementine will reveal her backstory, and you as Javier will have to be either like, okay, you can either say, okay, I understand why you hid that from me, or really, Clementine, what the fuck, why did you hide this from me, I'll never forgive you, yeah, so basically it's basically something like that. Now this next shot is really important. We have a bunch of walkers shambling towards Javier and their group, in what looks like the same junkyard area from the July screenshot, and the one where Javier and Clementine wake up in the beginning of the shot. Now, if you look really closely on the right side of the screen, you see all these walkers crowding around this truck. Now, if you actually look closely, Eleanor is inside that truck. So, why is she there? Is this before she gets taken away to Richmond, as Javier tells her to? Is this before? Perhaps maybe the truck didn't ever make it to Richmond, and now Eleanor's stuck with them, and she's trapped in this car. Anyways, these walkers approach, and we see Javier, Clementine, and Walking Dead Geralt. We see Walking Dead Geralt have an M16, which gives off a really big Abraham vibe to me, seeing as how he's the muscle badass with the assault rifle. We see Clementine still has her camo pistol. I can't tell from here whether or not she has her finger cut off. And then we see Javier pull out this like ice pick hammer thing to go and kill the walkers. And then we get this really, really awesome shot, which kind of reminds me of the running sequences from Minecraft Story Mode. We have Javier and Clementine making a break for it to look like to possibly get out of the New Frontier as the gates slowly close. We see Clementine armed with her shotgun and winter coat that we saw back in the extended sneak peek. And we hear Clementine ordering Javier to keep going, that they said they'll open up, which I assume is the gates, even though they're closing. Perhaps maybe she's talking about the gates behind them. So anyways, it looks like so this actually leads me to believe that in this shot, Clementine and Javier are trapped in the New Frontier, and the truck that bashes through to clear the walkers, that's actually a distraction that Javier's group creates to get Javier and Clementine out of there. We see Clementine picking up her shotgun, and then she and Javier are just blasting through all these walkers. We see a couple other people trying to escape as well. And also, here's another interesting thing. We see the same herd of walkers that was seen in the beginning, which we thought was a flashback. So clearly, it seems like that's actually not a flashback, and that this herd of walkers is deliberately brought by Javier's group to try and escape the New Frontier, or what we assume to be the New Frontier. And then we just get a couple other shots. We see the shot of Javier being grabbed by a walker and killing him. This shot is important of Javier burying someone. He looks really sad about it. This could be his mom. This could be Hector and David, since we haven't seen them at all. Which would be interesting, seeing as how with Hector and David dead, Javier is supposed to look after Eleanor, Beanie Hat Guy, and Kate. And that could possibly imply maybe there'll be an option to romance Eleanor as Javier, which wouldn't be completely illogical. So we see the shot of Javier burying this one guy. Then we get the shot of Javier and Walking Dead Geralt coughing as looks like smoke grenades or tear gas grenades are thrown above them. Looks like they're under attack from a group. Maybe the New Frontier's attacking them. And then we get this shot of Javier, Jesus, Beanie Hat Guy, Javier carrying someone. It could be Kate or Clementine. Looks to me more like Kate though. We see Javier, Kate, or Clementine, Jesus, and Beanie Hat Guy walking through this large city, which looks very, very similar, in fact, to the where the E3 2015 trailer took place. Anyways, they're all walking through this place, and when you see on this huge gate, it has the New Frontiers logo on it, which implies perhaps maybe this is the New Frontiers main base of operations, in that place where Clementine and Javier were escaping from originally, were actually like an outpost of sorts, kind of like the Saviors. Anyways, we get a repeat of Javier's whole spiel about, oh, I had to do what's right to protect my family, and then we see all these armed guys come up. These are all members of New Frontiers. You see the black guy in the middle who doesn't have a bandana on. He has you can barely see he has the New Frontiers logo on his neck. So we see all these guys running out there. They're pulling, cornering Javier. And we see Walking Dead Geralt, Javier, Jesus, and everyone surrender. One thing to note here is that Walking Dead Geralt looks a lot more armed than he does in the shots of tear gas grenades and the one of him and Clementine and Javier rescuing Eleanor from the walkers. So perhaps maybe Jesus hooks him up with some guns or something. I'm not sure. So yeah, we see Walking Dead Geralt, Jesus, Beanie Hat Guy and Javier all surrender. And then we get this last shot of who I assume will most likely be the leader of the New Frontier walking towards him. As we see, he's got one gun in his hand, but then he's got another one in his holster, or her holster. So, the fact that they do that shot leads me to imply this is a very important character, and that Telltale is hiding the identity of the leader of the New Frontier for a reason. Could it perhaps possibly be someone from the previous 2 seasons? Could it be someone from season 1 or 2? Well, here's one thing. We know it, from the looks of it, the hands do look masculine, but then again, I mean, nail polish isn't really a common thing in the Walking Dead universe, so I wouldn't put it past him being feminine. We can't quite tell from the lighting whether or not this guy is white or black, so this leaves many possibilities. Could it be Arvo? Could it be Lily? Could it be Mike? Could it possibly be even Bonnie if you let her live at the end of season 2? To me, really, the only possible ideas it could be, I'm thinking it's either Molly, maybe even Molly. It could be Molly, it could be Lily, it could be Mike, it could be Arvo, it could be Bonnie, or if it's not none of those, it has to be a new character. Overall, though, I'm really looking forward to see what Telltale has planned for the leader of the New Frontier and what his idea is. And then that's pretty much it. That was the launch trailer for The Walking Dead New Frontier, and now we're going to go over all of the new screenshots that were literally released about a couple days ago and analyze them. Okay, now we're going to go over various concept art pictures that were leaked about Walking Dead New Frontier. The first shot we have here is pretty familiar to anyone who played Season 2. It is actually Carver's office from House. Now, it doesn't look quite the same as it did back in Season 2. We see a lot more trash is strewn about it and stuff. The only way you can really tell that it's Carver's office still is because apart from seeing Carver's desk right there, if you look behind, you can actually see the PA system that Carver had set up there, even though the windows don't quite exactly match up. This is like probably after years of decomposing stuff, so it's safe to assume that this is normal. These next 2 screenshots are very interesting in that we actually get our first look at what Wellington is going to look like in a New Frontier. So in both of these screenshots, we see Wellington. We're going to start with the daytime one. We see that most of the snow around Wellington has melted. We see a lot of small mud puddles and such. We see Wellington has actually kind of sort of beefed up its security since the events of The Walking Dead Season 2, and we see now there are like these 4 roadblocks here. There's more of this in nighttime, which we see now there are searchlights that are like illuminate the gate at nighttime. So it seems as though, I'm assuming Wellington will show up if you decide to go with the Wellington ending, in which it'll basically show like how maybe Wellington got destroyed and Clementine had to escape it because it's going down. Anyways, after that, we move on to this another shot called Grave Site. Now, whose grave they're digging, I'm not quite sure. From the looks of it, based on the trailer, the launch trailer, we saw Javier burying the one grave. We have no idea who it could be. I think it might be related to that, or it might be related to the what do you call it? The Alone ending. Who knows? Maybe that's like where Clementine's looking at the picture of AJ. Along with that, there's also some screenshots of what will most likely be what do you call them? Areas of the New Frontier. We see a bunch of scrap yards and stuff like that. This is all just really will most likely be backgrounds for the New Frontier. Like this Schulenburg one is probably a placeholder for that Prescott. Now that we have the concept right away, we're going to move on to the final part of this trailer, and that will be screenshots. Now, these screenshots are actually really cool, so for this first screenshot, we have what will most likely be the aftermath of the Rescue Eleanor scene. We have Javier, Clementine, Eleanor, and this new girl behind Javier. Looks like they're all in shock, perhaps maybe they're fighting off walk or something. One thing to note here is like this sort of looks like a scar of some sort on Clementine's forehead. I'm not sure if that's a scar, a drop of sweat, a blood splatter, or something like that. Whatever it is, maybe it looks like kind of like a knife scar. Maybe like someone tried to cut her and like the knife went across like her cheek to her forehead. I'm not quite sure, but looks like I'm curious to see who this new girl is because we never saw her in anything prior to this, so we'll wait and see. After that, we have another screenshot of what Javier and Clementine. We see Clementine wearing her winter outfit this time rather than the tank top she had. She's looking to be inside the gates of the New Frontier, or if it's a New Frontier. This is definitely the place where Clementine and Javier are escaping from in the shot where the Clementine's blasting through all the walkers. We see this community, whatever it has these It has horses. It has this plane in the background, so it looks like maybe they're trying to get that plane working and get out of there. Who knows? Because it actually kind of looks like this place kind of looks like a runway of sorts. So maybe they took over an airport of some kind, because you see a bunch of airplane parts used to make the gate. The next screenshot we have is what is most likely when Clementine meets Javier. We see here Clementine aiming her shotgun at Javier. She's wearing her witch outfit. I'm assuming this is right before the extended sneak peek where we saw her take down the walker by herself. So she's probably not trustworthy of Javier. She meets him, she ties him up, and then basically she's like, who are you, where are you from? And Javier's like, hey Clementine, I'm your friend. She's like, okay, we'll work together now. Now this screenshot is pretty interesting too. In this one, it's kind of like a rehash of the scene from the trailer in which we saw Javier looking sad burying someone. This time Clementine is seen next to Javier. So Clementine looks pretty sad too, so is this maybe someone Clementine knew? Maybe, or maybe she's just empathizing with Javier. She's like, oh, I know what you feel like, I had to lose Lee and Jane, everyone, my loves too, so maybe that's just it. And so, to me, I feel like Javier's burying either David, Hector, or maybe Kate. I don't think Eleanor's gonna die just yet, because she's on the cover of the game. Then we move on to our second last screenshot, which is Javier, Clementine, Beanie Hat Guy, Walking Dead Geralt, and the black guy we saw in the sewers, all surrounding Jesus in what looks like to be the remains of a greenhouse. Now, if you look actually closely on the left side of the screen, you can see like what looks like a bridge of some kind. Now, if you remember in the launch trailer when Jesus is introduced, he's under a bridge, so it looks like this is where Jesus and everyone meet. Maybe they get out of the sewers after Jesus saves Beanie Hat Guy from the walkers. They get out to the sewers through a drainage pipe to this bridge, and then Javier, Clementine, Beanie Hat Guy, Walking Dead Geralt, and Black Man just all are like, hey, who are you? Everyone's like, oh, let's calm down. My name's Jesus, and I'm from the hilltop. So yeah, that's basically that. And for the final screenshot, we have here Clementine with this new girl. She's bald. She's got this big scar running on her head down to her left eye. Another thing to note here is that, well, we get a good look at Clementine's finger again. We can see that it's not bandaged up. It still looks really red, as if the finger was just recently cut off. Clementine still has her camo pistol. We get a better look at Sam's bite from season 2 on here. But the really important thing is, who is this girl that Clementine is with? She kind of looks really like a really edgy person. I see she's got like this whole leather studded outfit. She has a scarf. Could she perhaps possibly be like what I imagine she might be the Jane of this season, in that she might be like a member of the New Frontier, and that maybe she's friends with Clementine, and they decide to. What if this is I believe this might be actually a flashback in which we have maybe Clementine was with this girl. They were friends in the New Frontier, and then when the New Frontier starts being assholes, Clementine and this girl decide to get out, but maybe the girl dies halfway through, so Clem gets away with Javier instead. Who knows, but I'm really looking forward to this. And so that was my basically mega and trailer screenshot analysis, everything you need to know about The Walking Dead: A New Frontier. So, like I said, tomorrow, The Walking Dead: A New Frontier episodes 1 and 2, Ties That Bind Part 1 and Ties That Bind Part 2 will be released for Xbox One, PS4, and PC. The Xbox 360 and PS3 versions have been canceled, and we're not sure about the iOS and Android versions either. So I am really excited for will most likely be the third and final season of The Walking Dead. Are you guys all excited too? If you like this video, be sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys later.